because I really feel like the message that Canada isn't broken, it's in some ways unbreakable, and it's the weaknesses we're dealing with that. We are building towards something better. And I think that hopeful message will click with a lot of people.
Welcome to this new series that we have for the Spin Nation podcast. We are talking to the newsfluencers, the voices that are shaping the Canadian information ecosystem. And we've got our very first interview today. Welcome, Vishesh Raisangani. Hi, Vishesh.
Welcome.
Hi, Laurel. Hi, Emmanuel. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful to have you. So, Vishesh, you start all your TikToks with Good News Canada. For those who don't follow Vishesh under his handle of Maple Dealer, he is the founder of Sharp Ascension Inc. It's a communications and content marketing firm focused on the investments and wealth management industry. He's an independent financial journalist with 12 years of experience working at Seeking Alpha, Motley Fool, Yahoo Finance, and MoneyWise. So you're known as Maple Dealer. So how did you come up with that particular handle in the first place?
That wasn't a conscious choice, I should admit. So initially I was under my own name, and this wasn't meant to be something professional. I wasn't meant to be an influencer. I was just putting my own thoughts out there. And then I started getting a lot of, let's just say, aggressive comments from some people, which kind of made me worried about putting my own name out there. So I thought, hey, I'll just pick a random fun name and go a little anonymous for a while. I wasn't expecting it to take off. And when it did take off, it became difficult to change that. So I guess I'm kind of stuck with it now.
Right.
Yeah.
So on every episode, we ask a business question. And one of the business questions that we're asking for this particular series when we're talking to people like yourself is who's driving the influence and the perception in Canadian politics, which is why we wanted to talk to you. So maybe we could start with your origin story. Like, so why did you turn the ring light on in the first place?
Sure. That's, like I said, I wasn't meant to be an influencer. TikTok was supposed to be a personal outlet for me. It's supposed to be just discussing things that I don't do in my day job. So it is a completely different world when you're completely focused on business. But I did have political opinions, and then those were personal political opinions. So I needed a outlet for that, which is why I started doing it on TikTok. The fact that it started getting traction after I pivoted to a more of a positive perspective, it turned into this business case of like, okay, there's an oversupply of negative perceptions out there, and people are telling me, you're the only one who's got a positive perception. It felt like I was filling a gap in the market, and I said, hey, might as well pursue this now.
And when did you find that inflection point, like, clicked for you?
I have a date actually, Emmanuel. So it is the 2nd of October. Until October, I was only talking my personal opinions about politics. But on the 2nd of October, someone put up a video talking about how Canada's not as rich as the United States. And I was like, hey, listen, country-wise, that's true. But when you look at the median person, like you look at the average person's doing better than our American friends down there. So that video really took off, got 2.5 million views at this point. It's still getting comments 6 months later. So at that point, it clicked for me that Canada especially is in a state where we feel insecure. There's all this news about how the economy is broken, how the country is broken, and just someone reassuring people saying maybe things are not that bad. It seemed to click at that point. And then I thought, let's pursue this. Yeah.
Is that where your intro, Good News Canada, came from? Was that insight?
Yes and no. I think it took a little while. It took a couple of videos after that. And one of the videos I just started with Good News Canada, something good is happening. And then I got a lot of comments of people saying, I love how you started the video. As you know, on TikTok, there's this instant feedback of people telling you what you're doing good and what you're doing bad. They'll instantly let you know. There's people are very blunt. People are very honest in the comments, but it's helpful. It's good to have that, it's good to have like 20, 30 people telling you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, so that you can keep adjusting it.
That was literally one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, that engagement, that interactive audience, does it help you pick topics? Does it help you focus on what their needs or their asks are?
To a certain degree, I would say it doesn't help picking the topics. The nature of what I do, it's news analysis more than news commentary on breaking news. People really find it useful when I pack a lot of information that they didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So the audience can't really tell me, hey, why don't you focus on canola exports or something? So in that sense, it doesn't help with the content. The content is primarily my decision about what to focus on. But it does help with, hey, set up a ring light, get a professional microphone. We can't hear you properly. Like,
I've had that comment too.
it's one of the reasons I went out and invested in some of it, because people were like, we can't see you. It's too dark. Brighten the room up.
And I'm curious because you come from the MSM mainstream media, which is almost a
Yes.
bad word now. But you come from that background and that training. And so what do you think is missing in the way that traditional news is delivered, that it has pushed people to looking for people like yourself to give them that context and that commentary and analysis?
Absolutely. I think I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I do feel that it's not something that's restricted to media. There was a phase where people were okay dealing with corporations, but now they've just pulled back on that corporate mentality. So it's not just restricted to media. I think it's in all sorts of industries where the corporate name isn't as important as the person anymore. Like the personal connection that you need is something that the mainstream media might never be able to get, because if you're under a big banner like BBC or something, you're never going to be able to be yourself. But I find that a lot of people in this industry and media, but also in other industries, are finding that you need a personal brand. You need to be an authentic person to make an authentic relationship, and that's what people are clicking with.
We think about that in terms of like a values alignment
Yes,
or a worldview alignment, that people are looking, like you said, for that authentic person
yes.
who sees the world similar the way that they see the world. And so then they trust you to give them that analysis or commentary on the general news of the day.
I think the differentiator has changed. Like maybe if we were in the 70s or 80s, having a big production budget, having a big stage was the differentiator. Oh, you can do something, you can put money in where no one else can. But today in 2026, I can spin up AI and like have production budgets that are like would have cost thousands of dollars, and it just happens in like $10 or something. Not a differentiator anymore. It's just the personal connection, authentic. Are you really saying what you believe? Or are you communicating in a way that is appealing, is more engaging?
And that the way traditional media tackles issues
Mhm.
can be a bit obscure and hard to understand for a regular news consumer.
I'm struggling to find the right words for this, but I would say yes and no, because some people do a good job of it. Some of them have adapted. I would say a good example is about that on the CBC, Andrew Chang. He's a pretty good journalist who
Hmm.
has managed to find that good balance of like, okay, it's still a CPC production, but I am talking like a regular person. I'm throwing jokes in there. I'm having a personal conversation. Like I think even a big corporation can find a way of doing it. It just takes a little bit of trial and error.
Right. And that would explain why traditional media still has a audience of the boomers and the older generation,
Yes.
but the new generations are practically entirely on social media or other types of online news.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've seen that, Emmanuel, in the statistics, and I think a lot of it has to do with cord cutting as well. Like, I'm in my early 30s. I have never paid for cable. Like ever since I've been living by myself, I've never had cable. So the fact that I've never had like the CBC on my TV is like I'm on YouTube. I think it's just that generational. There was a cord cutting phase, and now everyone's on social media rather than mainstream media beyond a certain age.
So you raised an interesting point around the platforms, and I'm
Yeah.
curious. You started on TikTok. You're on Instagram. You
Mhm.
say you yourself consume your news on YouTube. So for your own channel, and when you're thinking about the audience that you're trying to engage with and reach, what is your strategy in terms of platforms? Before we hit the record button, Vishesh and I were talking about how it's hard to maintain multiple channels and platforms at the same time, and it can be a bit of a grind. So, what is your lens that you're using to say, I'm not going to do
Mhm.
YouTube, or is that part of your plan in the future?
I would say it's a combination of the biggest platform. Also, with like I'm trying to diversify, but only across the most popular platforms where I can get like a sizable audience, I would say, which is why TikTok, I should have started much earlier. It has the largest audience. What I like about it is it's the only non-American major platform at this stage. If you're looking for that geopolitical diversification, which I think a lot of people are right now, at the time it seemed obvious to me that, hey, maybe you should have one social media which is not American. TikTok is the only one where I've had any sort of traction. So I do focus on TikTok and then download the video and re-upload it to Instagram. Or in the future, I will start doing YouTube Shorts as well, because some people in the audience have mentioned that I should be on YouTube. So just because of the size, the network effects, I might end up on YouTube. There's no capacity to do anything more than that.
There's definitely a market opportunity for the company that manages to make it easy to be across all of these different platforms.
Absolutely. I wish there was something like that, Emmanuel. It's just a pain to manage all these different audiences.
Well, I think the challenge is more than just technical formats
Mm.
and all that. I think there's subtle nuances how you uh, approach topics, handle disagreement, and broadcast an opinion between the three bigger platforms.
That's true. I would agree with that. I think there's different people on different platforms. There are certain type of people who are on YouTube or Instagram that would never visit TikTok. That's part of it as well. I need to reach people that people like my cousin, for instance. My cousin told me, I'm never going to download TikTok, so I'm not going to watch your stuff. Can you come on Instagram?
But I do think TikTok, as a Chinese company, does come with some baggage, at least from the Canadian perspective, about what China's motivations are.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at this stage, all of them have baggage. So, yeah.
Well, there's going to be Canadian gander. I mean, this. Do you think that one's going to take off, or do you think it's got hope here?
I should disclose that I did have a conversation with the CEO. He reached out after seeing my videos on TikTok. I really wish we have strong tech platforms, not just a social media platform, strong, robust tech platforms in Canada. So I'm rooting for anyone who is doing anything. Like that being said, I did say this to Penn as well. You do need network effects. You need that sizable audience where everyone can connect with everyone. If I have friends or family in India or Europe, I need to be able to connect with them. It can't just be a Canadian platform and be a successful social media at the same time. A social, which I think is another one, which is also planning towards that. But I feel like at the end of the day, we might just get a European version. They have 700 million people in Europe, and they'll just force that onto their own users. And once you got 700 million people, you got that traction to get to 1 billion. So I think, unfortunately, I think it'll be a European social media that gives us that escape.
I hope the best for them.
Yeah.
But we're just a little bit too conservative in general. Well, I'm not going to bother because maybe my friends aren't on there, so I'm not going to waste my time. And then they never get that, as you said, that economies of scale that they need in order to make the platform actually relevant and useful for Canadians to talk to each other.
Absolutely. Are you guys on Gander or Asocial or any of these new platforms?
I have been following Gander, so I've signed up for their email list just to stay
Right.
on top of the news, but I have not personally signed up.
Same. Emmanuel, what do you think? You think Gander, or do we have like a social media in Canada that might take off?
It's hard. That network effect that you mentioned is critical, and you were already split across 5, 6 major networks. It's hard to believe that somebody will want to say, hey, I need a 7th, an 8th, or a 9th and manage my presence across all of those. That's a hard
Right.
step.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's a saturated market, isn't it?
Vishesh, what's your hopes and dreams for your channel, for your voice? Where would you like to see this go for yourself personally, for your brand, but also maybe you can put it in context of the overall discourse on news and politics within Canada?
I'd say the audience that watches regularly and that interacts with me on TikTok, they are the most pleasant people that I interact with. It's really fun, talking to them. I want to keep pursuing to see how big that can get. And I have a good feeling that in Canada, there's a lot of nice people out there. Right now, the best way to say it is I'm just trying to make sure that this is as big a platform as possible to reach as many people as possible. Because I really feel like the message that Canada isn't broken. It's in some ways unbreakable. And the weaknesses, we're dealing with that. We are building towards something better. And I think that hopeful message will click with a lot of people. So I just want to find as many people as possible on as many platforms as possible to get that out there.
Amazing. I do see in your comments that a, a, a consistent word is positive, optimistic, that
It
people
is.
really do resonate with the fact that you're coming in with the good news. It's not just the clickbait, gloom and doom. And I actually find it heartening that you have been able to grow an audience as large as you can have on TikTok without being Canada's ending. Because I find that is what the algos they push that the divisive content. If it bleeds, it leads was
Mhm.
the was how editors and newspapers and broadcast used to decide what went on the front page. Humans are naturally drawn to these extremes. You've managed to build a following not doing that. So, I mean, if you've got secrets, so secret sauce, then share it for the rest of us.
No, I wouldn't say it's like secret sauce because honestly, I really didn't think it would click as much as it did because I thought, this is something that the morning shows used to do, where then, oh, the good news of the day, someone rescued a cat out of
Yeah.
a tree. So I didn't know if it would have the traction. I just think it's the right thing at the right time. A lot of it feels like I'm just getting lucky with the timing, just because people are in that state of like insecurity, like I said, or unsure about the future. It just feels like a very opaque outlook for what's going to happen, not just politically, but economically or in people's personal lives right now. They're looking for some reassurance. And I'm glad that at least some of what I'm saying is giving that reassurance. I guess another thing I would say is that I try to pack as much information as possible within the 3-minute video that I do. So I try to make sure that it's full of statistics and facts. And there's a certain type of person, and I know you guys know this because there's a certain type of finance person that really clicks with, oh, statistic number 1, statistic number 2. I really like the numbers that you're throwing out there, and I can verify them independently. I think there's a lot of element of that people like fact checking and finding interesting facts that they didn't know, essentially.
An observation that I've noticed in the last 9 months, 12 months that there does indeed to be an uptick in what I'll call positive or constructive content. So it'll be an interesting trend to watch.
Absolutely. I feel like if we get to a place where everything is going much better, I think a lot more people will be doing this, and I'm looking forward to a day where I'm not the only one sharing good news. Hopefully, that's all over the mainstream media. Everything is good. Canada's not broken. Did you know? It'll be fun.
Well, I like that. I like that idea as well. But let me thank you so much for coming on to the pod today, sharing your journey and your vision for how there is hope and future here in Canada, and your decision to get out there and point to all the good news that's happening across the country. I do think it is a nice palate cleanser compared to what we often see across a lot of these channels. And for those of you who are not following Vishesh, you can find him on TikTok at Maple Dealer, and he is also on Instagram under the same handle. All right. Well, Vishesh, thank you again. It was really nice to talk to you, getting your views on the information ecosystem here in Canada.
It was great speaking to you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.